Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Fabulous Fridays Patching Podcast. Hope everybody's doing well. And welcome to our wonderful testimonies and stories this fine day. If someone has invited you, they absolutely love you, because this is definitely technology that needs to get out to the masses, knowing that they can receive healing. So we're going to talk all about, we have two wonderful, lovely ladies. We have Pam and Deborah, and they're going to share their stories today as far as how, when they started using this little patch, how it started activating their own stem cells and what they noticed that improved with their health and how their life is completely turned around. But before we get to that, I'm going to go and give you a little disclaimer. So I'd like to remind everybody that all of the things that we speak today, we're not making any claims. All LifeWay products are not intended to cure, treat, diagnose, or prevent any type of diseases. If you are pregnant or nursing or on any type of medications or have any other medical conditions, please consult your physician first. Our patching podcasts are for educational purposes only. So with that being said, I am going to introduce my co-host. So Laura Balzer from Florida. Laura, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We're so happy to have not only our brand representatives here, but we have so many guests on. So we want to welcome all of you. You're about ready to, I don't know, maybe you want to grab a pen and pencil or pen and pad, because these ladies are going to knock your socks off. So Wendy, should we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, and why don't you introduce our lovely two gals, and let's see what they have to say.
So we have two amazing women with us. I had the opportunity to spend time with both of them, and so that's why I'm so excited. So I'm going to have Pam come on first. Pam, you're unmuted. Wave so everybody can see where you are.
Hello.
And Pam, you and I talk a lot periodically. And so since we started talking, you've had a lot of change. So I kind of want to introduce yourself, let everybody know where you're from. What was life like prior to you being introduced to the stem cell activation patch? How long have you been using it, and what are you seeing now?
Yeah.
She's blown away too.
I am blown away. And thank you for this opportunity to be able to share it. Right.
Yes. You're welcome.
So when you said, hey, Pam, just give some bullet points of, where you were before the patches and where you are now. And thank goodness, at the recommendation of you and my sister, Dottie, who told me about the patches, go ahead and write up your wish list, right? And so I did. I documented a lot of things in my life that I didn't have 100% satisfaction with, like things that I felt like could be better. And as I started writing, I was like, whoa, I got some things, right? And for a long time, I just kind of thought, well, my diagnosis is that I'm 62, so I'm supposed to feel all these things. But I think one of the things that struck me first and blew me away, and I didn't expect it to get better because I'd always lived with it, was my IBS. And for anybody who struggles with any of those kind of intestinal issues, it's diet, it's try this, try that. And I've never been able to get the kind of relief that I was getting just really like within 3 weeks of being on the patches. And I was using the X39 and the Eon. My IBS symptoms went away.
Oh my God. How long had you had IBS?
For my whole life.
Your entire life. Okay. I want to make sure I heard you right. Okay.
Yeah. From the time I was a little girl. So as long as I could remember, I always had those issues. And then I remember in one of the Zooms that I watched, and they talked about how the X39 treats the linings of so many of our organs and systems, right? And so it just made sense. It just healed it. And I'm so thankful for that. And then as I started making the list, I was just chuckling because I had lower back pain. Again, that was from my diagnosis of being 62. And I was following the rules, right? And I was putting the X39 patch on my C7 like I was supposed to. And then I watched another Zoom, which is just so helpful with learning more about the product and how to use the product and other things you can expect it to help from. So somebody said, put it where it hurts. So I thought, wow. So I put it on my lower back, on the outside right of my lower back. Within 3 days, my lower back pain was gone. Now I'm patching somewhere else, and that pain's still gone.
Wow.
Right. So
And
that's
then
great.
you moved into, what was the next pain you told me about, which was
Oh my
your,
goodness.
your knee pain.
I had the knee pain. Yeah. And that, again, I'd gone to a doctor because I was thinking, he could probably do surgery and my knee will feel better, because I hear people getting knee surgery all the time. They just kind of fix all those little alphabets, the MCL and every other little letter in there. And he said, Pam, yours is arthritis. He said, you're just going to have to live with it until it gets bad enough for a knee replacement. Knee pain's gone. It's gone. So,
Yeah.
and then with that in mind, which was something that really excited me, I've always wanted to exercise more. And I had shared before that my husband is a marathon runner. And so everybody assumes that I'm a runner too. Are you a runner? And I said, no, listen, if I'm running, you should run too. Because there's a bear, there's a bomb, there's a fire, there's something, right? Because I don't run. And I would try to run because I knew that it was really helpful to get that cardiovascular kick, right? So through the decades, I would run here and there, like 30 seconds, a minute, but I was dying, right? I was like, I don't like what it sounds like to be breathing like this. And my knees hurt and my back hurt and everything hurt. 2 months after being on the patches, I thought, well, I'm going to try to run again because I feel like I can. I looked down at the timer. I had been running for 5 minutes.
That's a big deal.
It's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm still doing that intermittently, like I'll walk for 5 and then I'll run for 5 and then I walk for 5 and I run for 5 and I do that for 30 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I just feel like the patches is helping me do more things to help myself. So
Well, because the words you used when you described your exercise prior to the X39 and having this tool in your toolbox was exercise was drudgery. Now, you don't hear that word very often, drudgery, right?
Yeah.
So crazy. But you were having like sleep issues, right?
Yep.
You're having some gum issues. You were having little teeny things. Touch on the little things briefly, because everyone knows on here, I always say the little things are the big things. And I love how you say, I'm diagnosing myself and it's got to be because I'm 62, but you're finding out that doesn't have to be the case.
No.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you figure out your upper limits have been here and they've been moved up. So I had dry, brittle hair. And I actually had sent you a picture. So what I did, and for anybody who starts to use it, I actually collected the hair that was in the shower, probably about a week after I started it. And it was a significant amount. And then within a month later, it was 1/8 of the amount that I was losing in the shower, right? So if you're retaining hair, it's staying thicker too. So that bleeding gums, that was gone in 3 days. And that was just like when I would floss, I would get bleeding gums. Now I floss, no blood.
Wow.
No sensitivity. This other one, which is huge for me. So I'm sure it's kind of in with the intestine thing too, but I have a narrowing of my esophagus and it's from eosinophils. I have a high number count of those. And so it wasn't unusual for me to be eating and then feel this constriction in my esophagus, and actually food was stuck in my throat.
Wow.
And I would have to, force it to come back up. In the 2 months that I've been doing X39, no blockage.
Wow.
Nope.
A big one for ladies, and I think men have this a little bit. I don't know. I'm kind of, men, please excuse me. I don't know why y'all don't have this problem, but it's a big thing for women as we get older. Loosening, slacky skin, the elasticity starts to dissipate in the skin. What have you noticed? That was a big thing for you.
Yeah, because I got to the point I just sit there and play with my skin and I go, oh, there it went. I'm not going to have any elasticity. So now I can literally lift the skin
and it pops back.
Wow. But it goes right back down. Whereas before it would stay up. So that's so much better. And this is just 2 months in. Right. I mean, I can't wait so I think, like you had taught me, I think I have to be on it for 6 months to get like really maximum benefits. Right. So yeah, anyway, I'm thrilled with the results that I've seen. And I tell people, when I tell people about it, listen, I started doing these patches cynical and hopeful.
At the same time.
And my hope is growing. My cynicism is gone.
I love that. I love that. I know Wendy probably has a question. I can tell by looking at her face. But but I want to ask you one thing. Out of all of this, which is incredible, what is the biggest thing that you feel has really transformed your quality of life at the age of 62?
At the age of 62,
Right.
my new diagnosis. Oh my gosh. You know, I have this overwhelming sense of clarity, brain fog, just kind of gone. And it's really affected my mood. I feel a different level of happiness, which
Wow.
sounds crazy, right? You're going to put a patch on you that doesn't have any medicine in it or anything, and now you're happier. But it's definitely balancing out other things in my body that contributed to that. And I probably feel happier because I'm able to do things for myself. You know,
Mhm. I love that.
yeah.
I love that. Wendy, do you have a question?
Comment and question. Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, Pam. I mean, when we can see clearly and we're thinking clearly, we're more engaged in the moment, right? Versus we're kind of otherwise prior hand, it's like it's over there somewhere and we're kind of like in this daze and being asleep. So I can totally understand what you're saying. And then also what I really want to point out to people is that, we're so programmed that, if we put something on our body, we're affecting our physical body as if our emotional body or our mental body is completely something different. And it's all mental, how we think, how we feel, and how we feel is all derived down to that cell. And you're explaining, all levels as far as how your cells are improving and how you are feeling only physically, but you're mentally and your emotions getting more joyful. Yeah, it'll affect all of you. So I love that you shared that. The question I have is, I heard you say patches, and I know somebody's going to come across eventually and say, what patches was she using? All patches are great. Of course, the X39 is our holy grail, but what patches were you basically applying to yourself?
I started off with the X39, being the rule follower, like I had said in my testimony, just putting it on the C7. And then I put the E on like 2 inches below my belly button. So I started with those. And then after about a week, I did add the glutathione. And then I've also used the Energizer. And the Energizer works so well. Like the other day, I was flying and driving, and I was like, I am not going to put on the Energizer because I will not be able to sit here. Because it really just makes you want to keep going and just be active. And yeah.
But without like jitters of coffee, right? It's completely different energy.
Yeah.
Think about when you were 30. That's what I say. Think about how you felt when you were 30. That is the energy that cellular energy you get from the energy enhancer.
Yeah.
Right?
I would agree
Pam,
with that.
You're amazing. And I can't thank you enough. I called Pam. I said, you got to do it. Please do it with us. And I love you. And I know Dottie's on here, your sister, she's watching, and she's looking kind of proud right now, but thank you for sharing. And you have to come back because I know it's only going to get better and better and better.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to tell people.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We love you.
Thanks for all you do.
Absolutely. So we have another guest with not another guest. We have another testimonial. And Deborah, I got to find you again. Where are you? Oh, there you are, right at top. Hi, and you're unmuted. So Deborah, I would love for you to do kind of the same thing Pam did. Let us know how life was prior to being introduced. Who introduced you to the patches, and what are you starting to see now within the timeline that you're going to share with us?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I just wanted to tell you that 7 years ago, I was in assisted living. And so through diet, nutrition, and things like that, I began to get a little bit better, but life really changed since the patches. I'm friends with Danielle Mann, and I was watching Danielle in about after she was on her patches for about 2 weeks. I'm like, because we Zoom every day. And I said, what are you doing? And she wouldn't tell me. And I said, your countenance is changing. Your the cadence of your speech is improving, because I've known her, you know, wheelchair and all. And she wouldn't say anything till she was on him for about a month. And then she told me what she was on, and I go, that's it, I'm in. And I wanted to do the skin. You know, you saw a picture of my flesh. I had weeping wounds for years. Nobody knew what they were. I tried everything under the sun. Nothing was working. And I do energy rife medicine too. So I was even trying that. Nothing was touching it. And I went on the X39, the Alveda. Is that how you pronounce it?
Alavita.
Alavita, and then the YH. That's what Danielle told me to get on to, you know, to get all of this going. And after about a month or two, I started ordering the X49 and so on and so forth. And I was really noticing a change. That the wounds were closing up. They weren't hurting. They weren't weeping. I had people that, I was in the Bahamas, they wouldn't come near me because I looked like I had something that was catching. And I wouldn't wear a short sleeve. You know, it was embarrassing. I would be on the beach and I'd wear a cover up because even the sun and the sea wasn't helping. But this did. And that was the change. I also started noticing vaguely my hair. I was almost all white. And I noticed I've got some girlfriends I Zoom every day, and they were saying, no, it looks like your hair's changing. And so 2 days ago, I went in front of the mirror and I took a picture for my hair, just for my hair. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, my face. Then I went back and started looking at things like a year ago, a couple of years ago. And I was like, I look 10 years younger. I had no idea. I had no idea.
Well, your hair does not look gray right now.
No, and it doesn't. And I purposely, I'm in the light. You know, I'm in the light, and I showed you those pictures front and back.
I'm going to show everybody in just a minute. Yeah.
Okay. It's amazing. None of those things was I looking for as a benefit. You know, I just.
So let's talk about some of the, you know, you had some hip problems to the point where you could even barely walk. Why don't you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
I've had, it must be 30 years, easy peasy, bursitis in both of my hips. I'm an orthopedic nurse, so I knew it was, or I knew it wasn't an anatomical problem. I knew it was bursitis. I got a needle phobia, so I wasn't up to having any injections or anything like that. So, you know, I did anti-inflammatories, exercise, and all those things, and just basically lived with it, and ended up to the point where I ended up getting a handicap sticker. I couldn't walk without searing pain for more than a block.
Wow.
And without, I'd have to stop. And I just noticed, it was just this week, because I wasn't paying attention. I feed the ducks. I'm in an RV park. I feed the ducks every day. And I was out with my dog carrying 40 pounds of duck feed, walking all around the pond,
trying to get a visual.
I get back, you know, and it's just like, you know, I should have had a V8, right? I'm like, oh, I didn't have to stop. I wasn't in pain. Now, mind you, it's 7 degrees here, so it's cold. If I had arthritis and everything else, it would be bad. This was a huge change. Never, ever, ever, ever.
That's amazing.
I was in the emergency room a couple of months ago for what I thought was, I had high blood pressure. It was like the blood pressure was so high, it was like stroke kind of stuff, which is the only reason I went in. Found out I had a bad bladder and kidney infection and whatever. I said, please check, because I have a meningioma. I've been watching it. They did brain surgery on me in 2003. They removed most of the tumor. They told me it would continue to grow. It wouldn't kill me, but it would bother me. Watched it over the years. Yes, it's growing, growing, growing. By the time I moved out to the Bahamas, it was in my brainstem and the clevis. It was about 1.5 inches at that point. So they did a CT scan a month ago, and they come back and go, you don't have a tumor. I go, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's in the clevis. go back and talk to the radiologist and have him look at it again. She goes, well, you should be happy. I said, I'm happy, but I'm stunned. I need him to check it. Went back. He says, there's no tumor anywhere.
Wow. That is amazing. And you know, I hope everybody has picked up here that how many times do you hear, I was an assistant living for 7 years, and now this woman has bought her own truck, has an Airstream, and she's driving all over the place. You know, and a lot of us are faced with having to either know somebody or place somebody in assistant living for obvious reasons. And for you to be there and now have you here talking about where you are, I mean, that's incredible, Deborah. Who does that?
Super embarrassing. I couldn't take a shower by myself. Now, you want to be humbled, and then I've got a nursing background too. I mean, that was really amazing.
It is amazing. Yes.
You know, I want to tell you, it's a lifestyle too with these things. You got to have good water, good food, good air, clean air. You can't be doing stupid stuff and expecting a magic patch or pill or something to work.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to have a good positive attitude. Whatsoever you thinketh in your head, so are you.
Yes, absolutely.
So go for it. Go for it.
Well, I want to show everybody. First, I want to show them the sores that you had. And so I'm going to keep talking so they can see it. But you guys, this is her arms. The one on the right or on the left is her before. And this is where they started clearing up, right? Is that right, Deborah?
That's correct. That's correct. And that's after 4 months.
Right. This is 4 months.
What you can't see on there is that those sores were open, weeping, and they hurt. They hurt. And Danielle's always telling me, stop picking. I go, well, it needs to stop hurting first.
Yeah, I know. All right, so I want to show you this. Now, this is a picture of Deborah. And Deborah, people will be able to tell the before and after. They're going to probably fall off their chair. I don't know the timeline in which these were taken in between. I mean,
the one is June this year, and then the one where I'm happy and smiling, that's just a couple days ago.
Okay, so the first one is June
of this year.
The one where she's happy and smiling is just a few days ago. I mean, you're right. I mean, there's a big 10 to 15 years difference there.
Do you have a copy of my Bahamian driver's license? That's the killer. That's me coming out of the nursing home. I looked at that, I was like, oh my goodness. I look like I'm 180.
Deborah was so excited to be with us. She was sending me, oh my gosh, so many pictures because she's just excited. Like, okay, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Right. That doesn't even look like the same person.
No, that's somewhere around 2016, 2017.
Wow. Well, Wendy, do you have any questions for Deborah?
No, my jaw, hang on, let me get my jaw off the floor here.
Can you pick it up?
Seriously. Oh, Deborah, I started crying when you told me about the tumor and your picture. I mean, I'm just overjoyed, literally. I'm just so happy for you that. And I don't have anything to touch. Yeah, I don't have any questions, man. It's just like you're frosting, girl. You're frosting.
You know, I think for me, and I was telling this to Laura also. I feel like now for me, and I'm 69, and I feel like this is act 2 of my life, and act 2 feels so much better than what act 1 was.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I have hope now. And I've got some friends, I don't know if they're on here because I can't see them on my iPhone, but they saw me through all of this. They've seen the sores. I've lived with some of them, literally lived with some of them for weeks. And so it's real. It's not contrived. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And I know everybody's feeling very grateful to hear your story, your testament. And I know it's only going to get better. So just like we want Pam to come back, we would love for you to come back in 60 or 90 days and share with us where you are. Maybe you're living somewhere else. I don't know. You're going to take that Airstream somewhere. I don't know where, but we certainly love you to come back and share again.
I'm going to be working on after I get my normal flora up from the antibiotics and the steroids and stuff that I had to go on. I'm going to be working on, I've got cataracts.
That's right.
And macular degeneration. And so I have a 2-week protocol that I'm going to be doing. I'm either going to start next week or the week after to make sure everything's back into balance again.
Yep. I love that.
Because I'm supposed to have surgery and I don't want surgery. So that'll be to be announced.
Well, we're anxiously awaiting. We're anxiously awaiting.
I have everything documented at the eye doctor the before. And so I want to be able to go in and go, would you check me again? And then go, ha.
Well, we thank both of you so tremendously. And for our guests that are on here, you're probably thinking, okay, they keep talking about a patch. You know, they keep talking and saying something about X39 stem cell activation patch. So I'm going to turn it over to Wendy, and she's going to explain to you the beauty and the power behind this patch. And it's obviously very phenomenal, like you've heard today. Wendy?
Thank you, Laura and Pam and Deborah. Just wow. I know we're all going, wow. If you looked at the comments in the section, everyone's saying, thank you. Amazing. I mean, thank you for coming forth and sharing. I mean, that takes a little chutzpah right there. And thank you for doing so, because so many people are going to benefit from it. So what are we talking about? We're talking about this little thing, guys. It's how little it is. It's about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bit bigger, about the size of the quarter. And on the back side, it's literally just like, Band-Aid. It has like pieces of paper that we unpeel, and we can literally put it on our body. Now, there are 2 specific spots for this. One is behind the neck and below the belly button. But for this little X39 patch, we can actually put it anywhere that perhaps you need some extra focus. So for Deborah, if I got that right, was it Deborah with the bursitis?
Yes.
Yes. So with Deborah, she might have put it directly on that bursitis on her hip, and basically to kind of focalize the healing properties, or I should say the healing light properties of this specific patch. So let's kind of get into that. What is actually in that the center little gauze piece? So in that little piece of gauze, there is nothing that's transdermal. So transdermal means like there's like a chemical, there's something that's literally transferring across your skin barrier into your body. It's another way of depositing medication or some type of substance. There is no substance in this patch. There is nothing that's literally depositing into your skin. What is in that little patch is literally organic salt sugars, amino acids, and water that create a specific crystal lattice. And that crystal lattice is going to reflect back into the body specific light waves. You heard me right, light waves. So your body emanates light. We can't, of course, see it with our naked eye. But as technology has improved, we can, about 15, 20 years ago, we could actually see the infrared coming off our body with certain goggles. We can see with night vision goggles, we can see infrared. And so that is a form of light. But we also emanate a lot more light that we now can pick up through different technology. And David Schmidt, well, he actually learned that if we reflect specific light waves back into the body, it will activate the body to create a specific outcome. Now, with this patch that we're specifically talking about, the X39, what it does as soon as you put it on your body, it starts to reflect certain light waves that activate your body to make GHK copper peptide. Now, GHK copper peptide is the precursor to your body reawakening the stem cells out of hibernation, but also to make brand new pluripotent stem cells. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit because a lot of people get kind of worried, those that are invested with copper. It does not increase copper in your body, guys. It literally takes the copper from your diet to make that GHK copper peptide, and therefore creating and making new stem cells. So let's kind of go all the way back to the beginning when you were created in the womb. all that wonderful, miraculous moment that was happening, part of that process, there was a chemical compound, GHK copper peptide, that was created. And then the next step, the body knew we needed to make stem cells. So brain stem cells, blood, bone, nerve, etc. And those stem cells literally got to work and 3D printed you in the womb. And they were all responsible for everything that we talk about, like what Pam was talking about, physically made her body, mentally created her brain and her thoughts, emotionally balanced out how she was going to feel, happy and whatnot. And it made you completely 100% whole who you are today. And the GHK stayed rather plethorant in your body. So therefore the stem cells made sure you healed really quick when we were kids, right? Because we did a lot of things that probably got us into some owies, but it also helped your body, your bones grow, your brain continue to develop, et cetera, et cetera. But sometime after puberty, for whatever reason, that GHK copper peptide started to decline. Now, GHK copper peptide to stem cells is similar to water to a plant. If we pull back the water from a plant, what does it do? It starts to wilt, and kind of really what it's doing is pulling its energy and trying to conserve its energy. And that's basically what happens to our body. As that GHK starts to decline, our body starts to take our stem cells and put them in hibernation. So literally you still have the same stem cells that you were born with. They do not die. They may replicate themselves, but they don't die. They're with you the whole entire time. But a lot of them are in hibernation. To give you an example, by the time we're 35, you have less than 45% of those stem cells still active in your body, trying to help you heal. And by the time you're 60, we're kind of looking for them like a needle in a haystack. There's very few running around. By the time you're 80, I don't think there's much running around at all. So you can see if the body's unable to heal itself, heal the cell, you're made of 37 trillion cells. So if the body cannot go out and heal those damaged cells due to oxidative stress, inflammation, and toxins, then they're going to start going from a grape down to a raisin. And that's basically part of the aging process. But now we can literally reverse that aging process in the way of that the stem cells go right up to that damaged cell, give it its pink slip and says, get out of here. And it creates a brand new baby cell with no damage whatsoever in it. That literally is reversing the aging process. So with this patch, we basically put it on for 12 hours on, 12 hours off. We don't want to overstimulate the system, so it will stop, responding as well. That's why we do that. And secondly, drinking water is so important because our cells are 70% water. We need to, and so when you wear this patch, we activate what we call pluripotent cells. Pluripotent is your body's making brand new stem cells, guys. Right now, when I started this patch 2.5 years ago, my stem cells that were in hibernation were 57 or 55 years old. And then my body started making brand new baby stem cells. And now I'm 55 years young. And you heard me right, because all of our cells are starting to go to a younger expression. So you might be interested as to how are you guys brand new? I've never heard of this patch before. What is this all about? I'm going to let Laura go ahead and tell you about exactly how this patch came into existence and how old our company is. Laura?
Absolutely. This is like one of the best parts. So you guys, we've been around for quite some time. We are privately owned. David Schmidt is the CEO, founder, scientist, and inventor behind all of this and all of us. The man is brilliant. He has a vision not only for people on an individual basis, but as far as humanity as a whole. And it all began when he was doing some work with the Navy. He was working on some mini subs, and the Defense Department came to him at that time and said that they needed something for their Navy SEALs. And as we all know, the SEALs are the most bad people in the world, right? And they need to be functioning at their top. And so with that, they needed them to have the availability to have pure clarity, very, very intense stamina and endurance. And it did not need to be achieved through amphetamines, caffeine, and God knows what else that they could be using. So David went to work, and that is when a patch that Pam was talking about earlier, the energy enhancer, was born. They still use it today, but many other have started to facilitate it, like the Stanford swim team got a hold of it, and then the US Olympic team got a hold of it. And that's a whole nother story for another Zoom. I don't know, maybe we should just do an informational on that because it's a fantastic story. But this is how LifeWave began. And through the years, many supporting patches, as you heard today, have been conceived. But the stem cell activation patch X39 has only been around. We are just getting ready to hit 3 years. And so that is why you see such an explosion of us as a company. We're open in 81 countries. Before this patch was ever introduced to the marketplace, we were usually ending sales at the end of the year, like 2018, we ended at about 50 million. This year, we are very proud to share with you that we will end this year floating around about 450 million. So as you can see, the X39 is changing many, many, many people's lives. And there's so much amazing information, not only just about David Schmidt, our inventor, but the company as a whole, along with all the clinical studies. We have over 90 independent double-blind studies, as well as 130 patents. 70 of those patents are in regenerative medicine themselves. But if you want to dig a little deeper, David's going to throw down here in the chat, startx39now.com, and you can go in there and just get in there, really dig deep and find out some pretty amazing things. But what I would love for you to do is get back with the person that invited you here today, because if you are wanting to get started on the patches, or maybe you're that person who's been using them for a while and you want to start sharing them because you do know people that are experiencing the things that Deborah and Pam are experiencing, and you know that you have something in your hands that could help them, get with them, let them guide you through the best way for you to attain purchasing them, as well as getting started, maybe sharing them, because they have all that valid information. And so we are just so excited that you guys joined us today. We're always very humbled by all of you showing up and spending your time with us on Fabulous Fridays. I just changed the name. It just came out of my mouth. But with that said, Wendy, you want to close this out, love?
Absolutely. Thank you again. David's part of he's our support group in the background. So thank you, David, for being here. And also
one announcement.
Go.
Tomorrow, the Houston event is on the same bat channel, same bat station at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Pacific time. You want to get a good jumpy go at Pacific, PM. But anyway,
I have a question. How do we?
Pacific time as 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.
That's
Can
awesome.
I ask a question about that? How do we get on the? I downloaded the app. What do we do then?
Let's close out this patching podcast. Stay on, and then we'll answer that. Okay. So if anybody would like to invite anybody, we have these patching podcasts Monday through Friday. So Monday through Thursday, they're actually at 6 o'clock Pacific time. And then Friday, of course, 1 o'clock Pacific time. And then, of course, the event that we have tomorrow, as David went ahead and notified for us. Other than that, we look forward to seeing you next week. Make sure you take care of yourself this weekend, and everybody be safe when you hang up those Christmas lights.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
everyone.